Let's imagine we have a vehicle class. Each vehicle has a make, a model, and a top speed. So now let's create an instance of this car. Let's add the make, and the model, and the top speed. If the top speed is a float, what unit is it? We could make an assumption and say it's miles per hour. Or maybe we should add a java.comment to specify. So let's try creating a different vehicle. This time the vehicle will be a boat, but now we have a problem. Generally, you don't measure the speed of a boat in miles per hour. It makes more sense in this case to use knots. The top speed of the Titanic was about 23 knots. 23 knots is roughly 26.5 miles per hour, because 1 knot is equal to about 1.15 miles per hour. So let's add the top speed in. So this approach works okay. The java.comment on the vehicle class explains that top speed is miles per hour. So what's the problem? The main problem, at least in my opinion, is that we have now taken the problem out of the domain space. This means that we have now changed the language that we use to communicate about this software. And if we ever want to add another aircraft or another ship, we have to manually convert between knots and miles per hour. Actually, that gives me an idea. Why don't we create a function to do that for us? So here I'm just going to create a really quick function that converts knots to miles per hour. And now, where we set the top speed for our Titanic, we can replace it with a call to that function. And let's set that to 23 knots. Now let's try making use of Kotlin's extension properties to change the way this reads. If we add a property called knots to the float class, then we can actually do any float.knots to get the speed in miles per hour. And now we can replace our function call with the newly created property. And while we're here, let's clean up the existing code a little bit. So now let's add the final vehicle for this video. Let's add the Concorde. The Concorde flew so fast that they measured its top speed in Mach. And now all we need to look up is the value of 1 Mach, which is about 767 miles per hour. So this works fine, but there's a problem. What does the 211.3 really mean? And also that leads to the next question. Why can you pass in an arbitrary float value to this function? Surely we just want speeds only. So maybe the best approach for this is to create a new type. The speed type will take the speed in miles per hour. And now we can swap out the return types for the existing properties. And then all we have to do is replace the return value of these properties with a call to our new speed constructor. And then while we're here, let's add a miles per hour property, and it just returns this wrapped in a speed object. And then the final step is to replace the float with our new speed object, and then we can append the miles per hour property onto the end of our speed. And there we have it. And before we forget, let's remove this java.comment. And there we have it. A short and sweet guide to the basics of domain-specific languages. To summarize, always try and use language from the domain in the code base. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and leave a like. And if you have any suggestions, leave a comment below.